Hey everyone, this is Brock Nordstrom for AE Toots, and today we're going to be making some tech web effects inside After Effects. And so basically I got my main composition right here. We're running it at 720p at 24 frames a second. And I'm going to change the name to main. Let's create a new composition. And this is going to be one of the elements that goes inside of our main composition that the camera is going to be flying through. So let's change the composition name to element 1. And let's bring its resolution up to 1080 at 24 frames a second. That way, in case any of the elements get too close to the camera, it still looks nice. So, all right. And then after that, we're gonna create a new composition. Call this one circle. Let's make it 1,000 by 1,000, so we have a perfect square. And by 100, I mean 1,000. Dang it. So get out your ellipse tool, double click on it, makes perfect. After that, we're going to create a mask. Click on your ellipse tool again, click on the mask option, hold down shift, drag a circle to match your first one. Then we're going to make this mask under subtract. Double click on it so we get the transform handles. Hold down shift to make it so perfect. Alright, now let's make sure that all the sides look about the same. That looks good. Alright, now we're going to go inside our element 1. Drag the circle into it. I'm going to scale it down to about 50%. Bring it over here. I'm going to duplicate it and scale the new one down a little bit. Then with this first one, let's get our mask tool, rectangle, and create masks here and here. Alright, now with these masks, I'm going to click on the subtract mode so it looks like that. Alright, next thing we're going to do is create a line coming from the circle down here. So I'm just going to make it really big and then shrink it down. Alright, that looks good. Over here, make sure that's lined up. Alright. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to add some text inside of this guy. Doesn't matter how long you make the text, because it will be changing through an expression right now. So bring down your text, source text, alt click on the stopwatch. We're going to be writing x equals random parenthesis, enter, and then I believe, let me see here, it is math.round x times 100,000 divided by 100,000. Press enter on your numpad. Oh, add in a parenthesis right here and take off the one at the end. That is a typo. Alright. Bring this over here. And we got some random numbers going. Wonderful. Let's duplicate that layer. I'm going to shrink it down and put it right below. And boom, we got two randomly changing numbers. Congratulations. Alright. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to make this outside circle turn. So click on it, rotate it, keyframe at the beginning, keyframe at the end. Let's have it rotate twice, or actually let's say 4 times throughout this composition. Alright, so now that's what it'll look like throughout each frame. And let's actually duplicate this one again, scale it out some more. There, that looks good. Let's scale out the other one too. Right there. Alright, that's our first element. Now let's pre-comp all this. Control Shift C, element 1A, enter. So now we have that element down in there. Alright. Now let's scale this one down. And let's change the size of our comp to 2000 by 2000. Let's turn on our title action safe point so we can see the center and get that right in the center. Press A on this layer and to bring its anchor point to 0. Oops. And that brings the part where it rotates to the edge. So that right there. Let's turn off our action safe titles. Alright. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to be making another circle. So new composition, we're going to call this black circle. 1000 by 1000. Okay. Create another circle. And then duplicate that circle. Change your new duplicated circle to black. Scale this one down a little bit. And there you go. Let's go back in element 1, bring our black circle in. Drops it right into the middle of the comp. And scale it down. Then let's duplicate our element 1A and scale it down. And duplicate it again, and let's scale this one down. Now we're going to make all of these rotate around this box here in the middle. And so let's actually bring these in a different order. See how we got this line going through and it kind of crosses the others and doesn't look as good? Well, let's fix that. So let's go back into our element 1A. Let us take this first circle. Where is it? There it is. And let's basically do what we did with the other one. Let's duplicate it, bring the duplicated one below it, press M for mask, delete the mask, and change the fill to black. And so now that line doesn't cross through anymore. Let's see what's going on with this though. Oh, I believe the black is crossing over this. Ah, yes. There we go. So just drag this inside circle above your last outside circle and it will look okay. Let's go back into our comp. See how it looks now. It looks good. Alright. Now we're going to make these things rotate around the middle. So get this first one. R rotation keyframe at the beginning, keyframe at the end. Let's have it rotate around 4 times throughout the whole thing. This next one, rotation, and let's offset it. So actually don't put down a keyframe yet. Offset it to like right there. That should be good. Keyframe at the end, keyframe at the beginning. We're gonna make the end one 2 rotations. And for this last one, offset it to the right, let's say there. Keyframe at the end, bring it towards the beginning, keyframe at the end, and let's make this one 5. Actually, let's make this one going in a different direction than the others and make it negative, let's say 5, yeah. And so, boom, got these rotating things. Alright, now let's go to the center of our circle right here. We'll throw in some text. And let's just copy, or let's shrink it down. And then let us copy and paste the script from the first time. Copy. Source text, paste. Oops. Enter on the numpad. And size it up a little bit. And maybe let's make this one bold. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, bold looks good. Bold is good. Bold is good. Alright. And then let's duplicate again. Shrink it down. Bring it down. And let's make this one slightly smaller. Alright. There we go. Let's drag it into our main comp. Element 1, right there. Change it to 3D. Let's bring it way back. Let's duplicate it. Bring another one over here. Let's rotate it. Duplicate it again. Bring it over here. Rotate. I swear. Bring it forward more. Down there. Duplicate. Rotate. Bring it forward. Alright, so we got those started to be laid out. Now we're going to make another element. So let's go back into our element 1A, copy everything, create a new composition, 1080p. We're going to call this element 2A. Paste everything in there. Alright, this time let's take this and let's change the mask to add on both of them. And then for the second part, let's scale it right around there. So it looks like that. And let's actually change this up. Press U to bring up all your keyframes, and let's change the rotation of this outside one to -4. So it's rotating the opposite direction of the other. So this is what it looks like. And let's scale this inside one and down a little bit more. Right there. Alright. That's it for that part. Create a new composition. Call this one element 2. 2000 by 2000. Alright. Let's bring in element 2A. Bring up our titles. Scale it down. Oh, anchor point 0. Alright, now scale it up a little bit more so it reaches the edge. Basically, we're going to do the same thing that we did to the first one. Duplicate, duplicate. Rotate this one. Rotate this next one. Scale this one down. Scale this one down. Let's make that one really tiny. And rotate it really fast. So let's rotate it. One at the beginning, one at the end. And let's have it rotating, let's say 12 times. That looks good. Let's have this middle one rotating a little bit slower and in the other direction. So keyframe at the beginning, keyframe at the end. -8. And on this big outside one, keyframe at the end, keyframe at the beginning, go to the end one, and we will make it say, let's go with 5. Alright, now we got all those guys spin around. And let's go into our main comp again, drag in element 2. Scale it down. Make it 3D, actually, so don't scale it down. Whoops, make it 3D. Let's push this one to the very far back. This one up. Duplicate it again. This one right here. Drag this one to the back. Then let's duplicate it again. Bring it all the way over here. Alright. We got all these swinging web type looking things. Wonderful. Alright. Now let's create our camera. Layer, new camera. Let's do 35 millimeters. Alright. Let's start our camera zoomed into this. So go to our transform, change the position, or actually let's get into a custom view. There we go. Now let's bring our camera way forward. Alright. Bring it way into there. And let's see what it looks like now. Alright, that's good starting. Let's actually bring it a little more to the right too. And let's go forward a little bit more. Alright. So let's change our point of interest and position. Bring it over to 1 second. Zoom, let's say right here. And so we want the camera to rock, like come back a little bit forward and then forward again. So if we want it to land right here, let's bring those keyframes, say 4 or 5 frames up, and then zoom back past where those keyframes are. So it goes backwards and a little bit forwards. Let's add a little bit more forwards. And let's change our position actually of where this is. So press C to toggle through the different ways to control your camera. Let's bring that right here. So it comes from over here, flies over here, and let's delete these keyframes and then just bring it forward a little bit. And then we'll have it rest here for a little bit. Let's go forward a little bit that whole time. And then back some more. So it goes from beginning, back out, forward bounce, comes a little bit forward, and then back out again. So let's zoom back in a little right after these keyframes to get another bounce. After another second or so, let's add in some more keyframes. Let's have this one pulling back a little bit the whole time actually. And go forward a couple more keyframes. And we'll just zoom right in all the way to the very end. Alright. So let's RAM preview this and see what it looks like. Alright. It looks alright. It's a bit janky, so I'll make it a little bit more smooth. Let's make these transfers a little bit faster, so bring in all these keyframes right there. Let's have this second one zoom in a little bit faster. Bring it forward a little bit. Let's bring in this one a little bit faster. And then let's select all of our keyframes and just put them on easies and see what it looks like. So another RAM preview. Alright, that looks a lot better. So next thing, let's add some motion blur to this and see what it looks like with the motion blur on. So select all of your turn on motion blur on all of your elements and let's preview it. Alright, you'll notice that on the really fast transitions we get this multiple frames. Almost looks like frame blending, but a little bit different if you know what that is in video. But so let's go in our composition settings, and in order to fix this, you would change your samples per frame up to, let's say, 32, and that would double the amount of samples it's taking and creates a smoother motion blur. But for the sake of this tutorial and speed, I'm going to turn it back down to 16 until the final render. So that's our main composition. Let's see what it looks like in motion blur. Alright, that looks a lot better. Now, if the rate of recording my screen isn't that fast, so it probably looks way jumpy to you, but at the end, all of a sudden, there's these white things that appear for a second, and that's just because the camera is still catching up, or is still seeing a little bit of them at the end. So let's have it zoomed in even more at the end and drag out a couple of frames so that it won't catch that. Alright. So at the beginning of when it gets to its second rest point, we want some like text to appear here. So let's say we have it say adapt. That's a good word for this project. So we're gonna start right here, bring it up. Oh, let's turn on it onto 3D. Select it. Bring it forward. Here. Bring it down. Over. Squish it. It's kerning. Alright. Let's pre-comp this actually so we can do a little bit of fancy animation here. So Control-Shift-C. Let's just call this one adapt, or actually let's just call it title. Okay. And it added all of its elements to in here, so it's 3D in here and stuff. So let's turn that off. Rotation 0. Size of it, bring it way up. Oops. Bring it to the middle. Alright. So let's turn the 3D on here, rotate it, bring it over, and let's bring that open. Alright, now there's a bunch of presets for text animating in, and one of them is like coding in, I believe. So let's look for that. Decoder fade in. Press U to bring up your keyframes on here. So it starts right here. Let's see, in our main element, right here. Bring that right there. So it does this little fancy decoding animation. So when we come back and zoom in, it's decoding in. Alright, so let's just do a RAM preview and make sure it looks all good. Alright, so final render or animation looks really good, and that's it. This is Brock Nordstrom for 80 Toots, Toots, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it Toots. Okay, see ya.